The moment the warning sirens screamed across the Imperial capital, the galaxy held its breath. Deep inside alien territory, where no human ship had ever survived, a single human battleship had appeared out of nowhere. No escort. No warning. No explanation. And for the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Empire felt something it had never allowed itself to feel before. Fear. The alarm echoed through the spire palace of Emperor Cortal, ruler of the Virex Dominion. The Virex were ancient, brilliant, and ruthless. They had erased civilizations for lesser violations than this. Yet tonight, instead of anger, confusion spread like poison. Cortal rose from his throne chamber, his 6 golden eyes narrowing as tactical data flooded the air. A glowing hologram formed, one bright signal, moving steadily inward. "One ship?" he asked slowly. "Yes, Majesty," replied Fleet Marshal Sarn, his voice tight. "A single vessel. Human origin." Silence followed. Humans were known. Weak. Clever, perhaps, but confined. Their technology was inferior. Their reach small. "Then why," Cortal said, voice lowering, "has a human ship crossed the Void Curtain?" The Void Curtain was not merely a border. It was death. A region of crushed spacetime, radiation storms, and gravitational fractures that no known species could cross intact. The Virex had built their empire behind it for safety. And yet, something had come through. Sensors flickered, distorted by interference radiating from the human vessel. Its shape was unfamiliar, angular, layered, scarred. Not beautiful like Virex warcraft. Functional. Purposeful. "What are its weapons?" the Emperor asked. "We do not know," Sarn admitted. "Our scans cannot penetrate its hull. It emits noise. Not jamming. Something else." That answer unsettled the room. Virex sensors could read heartbeats from orbit. "Where is it going?" Cortal demanded. Sarn hesitated. "Directly toward the core worlds." A ripple of panic spread through the council. The core worlds were sacred. Untouchable. Home to trillions. "Prepare the first and second fleets," the Emperor said. "Surround it. If it deviates, destroy it." "Yes, Majesty." As the fleets moved, far away aboard the human battleship UNS Horizon's Will, Commander Elena Ward stood calmly on the bridge. The ship bore scars from places no alien map recorded. Its crew, 400 men and women, worked in focused silence. They were not afraid. "Status," Elena said. "Void Curtain transit complete," reported Chief Engineer Malik Rios. "Hull integrity at 98%. Fold drive stable." Alien response. Elena asked. 12, no, 20 warships forming ahead. More arriving every minute. Elena nodded. "As expected." Lieutenant Hannah Voss hesitated. They outgun us." Elena looked at the stars ahead. "They think that." The horizons did not slow. Back in the Imperial command ship, Fleet Marshal Sarn watched in disbelief as the human vessel continued forward, straight toward a wall of Virex firepower. "They are not responding," an officer said. "No transmissions. No weapons charging. Do they believe us incapable?" Sarn growled. "Or," whispered another officer, "do they believe we won't fire?" That idea felt dangerous. "Open a direct channel," Sarn ordered. A focused signal pierced the void. "Human vessel," Sarn announced, his voice amplified with authority. "You have violated sovereign space. Power down and submit. Failure to comply will result in immediate annihilation." 10 seconds passed. 20. The human ship continued. "They ignore us," an officer said, stunned. Sarn felt something twist inside him. No enemy had ever ignored a Virex command. "Weapons ready," he ordered. "On my mark." A sudden alert cut him off. "Marshal." Long-range data spike, ancient records activating. "What?" An elderly Virex scholar, Archivist Trell, stepped forward shakily. "My lord, this situation has precedent." Sarn turned sharply. Explain. 200 cycles ago, Trell said, a Virex exploration vessel was lost beyond known space. It crashed on a dead world. The crew was dying. Sarn frowned. We lost thousands of ships. Yes, Trell said softly. But this one survived. The archive projection changed. A small, grainy image appeared, two soft-skinned beings assisting wounded Virex. They were humans, Trell continued. They shared air, food, medicine. They waited with our people until rescue arrived. Why was this hidden? Sarn asked. Because it contradicted doctrine, Trell replied. Humans were labeled insignificant. This truth was inconvenient. Sarn stared at the image. Then at the human ship now drifting between his warships. Another alert sounded. The human vessel transmitted a single data packet. Not a threat. Coordinates. Medical codes. Emergency symbols, universal ones older than empires. Sarn's voice dropped. They are not invading. What are they doing then? An officer whispered. Sarn exhaled slowly. They are answering a call. A private message from Emperor Kortal appeared on Sarn's screen. Stand down. Let them pass. As Virex weapons powered down, the horizons will glided through the fleet unharmed. On the human bridge, Hannah let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. They stopped. Elena nodded. Good. We didn't come to fight. She turned and walked toward the medical deck. Inside a quiet chamber lay a stasis pod, old, reinforced, priceless. Inside rested Dr. Jonah Hale, humanity's greatest xenobiologist. Dying. The only cure existed in a nebula deep within Virex space. Elena placed a hand on the pod. Hold on, she whispered. We're almost there. Outside, alien fleets watched the human ship disappear into their forbidden skies. And for the first time, the Galactic Empire wondered not what humans wanted, but what humans were willing to cross the galaxy to protect. The human battleship moved deeper into Virex territory, and everywhere it went, fear followed. World after world watched the strange vessel pass overhead. Cities powered down defense grids. Fleets repositioned but did not attack. The Galactic Empire had halted its own war machine for a single human ship, and no one understood why. Inside the Imperial Citadel, Emperor Kortal stood alone before the vast star window. His advisors argued behind him, their voices sharp and uneasy. They are testing us, one said. They are scouts, said another. No, Archivist Trell replied quietly. They are neither. Kortal raised one clawed hand, silencing them. For 10,000 cycles, the Emperor said slowly, we have believed strength was measured by how many lives we could end. Yet this ship crosses our empire armed not with threats, but purpose. He turned, six eyes burning. I want to know that purpose. Aboard the UNS Horizon's Will, tension grew heavier with every passing hour. Though no shots were fired, the ship was constantly tracked. Alien signatures flared and faded like predators circling from a distance. Commander Elena Ward stood in the medical bay, watching monitors flicker around Dr. Jonah Hale's stasis pod. His heart rate was unstable. The nebula was still hours away. How long? She asked quietly. Medical officer Dr. Leanne Park shook her head. We're pushing the limits already. His cells are degrading faster than predicted. If we don't reach the nebula soon. Elena closed her eyes for half a second. We'll make it. Dr. Park studied her. The crew knows who he is. They know what he represents. But they don't know why you personally volunteered to command this mission. Elena opened her eyes. Jonah Hale saved my sister on Europa. He didn't have to. Humans rarely survive because of systems or empires. We survive because someone chooses to care. Dr. Park nodded slowly. On the bridge, Lieutenant Hannah Voss stiffened. Commander, incoming transmission. Imperial Priority Channel. Elena straightened. Put it through. The hologram formed, a tall, armored alien with burning eyes and ceremonial markings. I am Emperor Cortal of the Virex Dominion, the voice echoed. Human commander, you will explain yourself. Every crew member froze. Elena stepped forward. I am Commander Elena Ward of the United Nations Stellar Fleet. We are not here to threaten your empire. Then why enter it uninvited? Cortal demanded. Because asking would have cost us time, Elena replied simply. And time would have cost a life. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. One life does not outweigh a civilization. Elena met his gaze without fear. That is where humans and empires differ. A murmur rippled through the alien council behind him. You crossed the void curtain, Cortal said. You evaded our censors. You ignored our fleets. For one human. For one mind, Elena corrected. A man who devoted his life to understanding other species. Including yours. The Emperor paused. Explain. Dr. Jonah Hale mapped the biological language of over 40 non-human species. He argued that cooperation was evolution's highest form. He believed one day humanity would need that truth. And now? Cortal asked. And now, Elena said, voice steady, he is dying. The only compound that can stabilize him exists in the Ashara Nebula. Inside your space. Silence stretched. You expect us to allow this, the Emperor said. No, Elena replied. We already did what we had to do. I'm speaking to you because I believe understanding matters. Cortal studied her, really studied her, for the first time. You risked war, he said. Yes. You risked extinction. Yes. Why? He asked. Elena's answer came without hesitation. Because no one is expendable. The Emperor felt something shift inside him, an ancient certainty cracking. The journey to the nebula grew violent. Space twisted. Radiation storms battered the horizon's will, alarms screaming across the bridge. Hull stress increasing. Malik shouted. Shields holding at 70%. Elena gripped the command rail. Push through. The ship shook violently as alien physics collided with human engineering. The Virex fleets halted at the edge of the nebula, unwilling to follow. Inside the medical bay, Dr. Hale's vitals plummeted. We're losing him. Dr. Park shouted. Elena slammed her fist onto the console. Override stasis. Prep infusion. That could kill him. So will waiting. The nebula glowed, alive with impossible colors. Malik rerouted power manually, burning out half the navigation array. Now, he yelled. The ship plunged into the storm. Energy flooded the medical bay as synthesized compounds formed in real time, human machines adapting alien matter on the fly. Dr. Park injected the solution. For one endless moment, nothing happened. Then, Jonah Hale's heartbeat stabilized. A quiet cheer rippled through the ship. Some cried. Some laughed. Some simply collapsed in relief. On the bridge, Hannah whispered, "We did it." Elena exhaled slowly for the first time in days. Far beyond the nebula, Emperor Cortal watched the data feed in silence. The human ship emerged battered, systems failing, but alive. They succeeded, San said quietly. Yes, Cortal replied. And in doing so, they showed us something. What is that, Majesty? San asked. The Emperor turned toward the stars. That true strength is not the power to destroy worlds, he said, but the will to cross them for one fragile life. For the first time in Imperial history, a new order was issued across the Galactic Empire. Do not engage human vessels. Observe. Learn. Because the galaxy had just witnessed something terrifying. Humans who would defy empires. Not for conquest, but for compassion. The return of the UNS Horizons should have been quiet. It was not. Across the Galactic Empire, sensor arrays replayed the same impossible footage again and again. A human ship entering the Ashara Nebula, surviving conditions no Virex vessel had ever endured, then emerging alive, mission complete. The data spread faster than any official statement. Among soldiers, whispers formed. Among scholars, debates erupted. Among rulers, unease grew. If humans could do this for one life, what would they do for many? Emperor Kortal convened the High Conclave, an event so rare that some members had not been summoned in centuries. Massive beings of steel, crystal, and living thought gathered in the vast chamber. The humans are an anomaly, one warlord declared. Their technology adapts instead of dominates. It is inefficient. And yet it succeeded, replied another. They ignored power, said Archivist Trell. They focused on purpose. Kortal raised his hand. For generations, he said, we believed compassion was weakness. That mercy invited destruction. Yet these humans crossed death itself without firing a single weapon, and we stood aside. The chamber fell silent. Perhaps, the Emperor continued, our fear is not of human strength, but of what it reveals about us. Aboard the Horizon's Will, celebration was restrained but real. Systems were damaged, navigation crippled, but morale burned brighter than ever. Dr. Jonah Hale was awake. Elena stood beside his bed as he slowly focused his tired eyes. You made it, he whispered. We all did, she said. Jonah smiled faintly. Did we start a war? Elena shook her head. No. I think we started a conversation. Jonah's smile widened. Good. About time. As he rested, Elena received another transmission request, this time marked diplomatic. She accepted. Emperor Kortal appeared once more, but now his posture was different. Less rigid. Less certain. Commander Ward, he said, your actions have disrupted centuries of doctrine. I'm sorry, Elena replied, but not regretful. Kortal studied her. Human doctors once saved Vyrex's lives without reward. Now humans risked extinction to save one of their own. Why does your species act this way? Elena thought carefully. Because we learned early that survival alone isn't living. Meaning comes from who we choose not to abandon. The Emperor was silent for a long time. Your scientist, he said, sought understanding. Perhaps, we should as well. The Horizons will limp toward neutral space, escorted, at a respectful distance, by Vyrex vessels not as guards, but as witnesses. On Vyrex worlds, children asked questions that unsettled their elders. Why didn't the humans attack? Why did they help? Why didn't they fear us? Questions, once asked, could not be erased. Weeks later, a small Vyrex research ship appeared near human-controlled space. It broadcast no weapons lock. Only a message. Requesting contact. Purpose. Learning. On Earth, the signal reached a world long accustomed to preparing for the worst. Instead, Elena stood before a global council and spoke simply. They watched us risk everything for one life. Now they want to understand why. A pause followed. Then permission was granted. In the quiet of her quarters, Elena looked at the stars beyond the viewport. Humanity was still small. Still fragile. Still outnumbered. But the galaxy had seen their truth. They were not conquerors. They were not cowards. They were something far more dangerous to old empires. They were unchangeable. Somewhere deep within Vyrex space, Emperor Kortal stood before ancient imperial records and issued a command that would reshape history. Open the sealed archives, he said. All of them. Majesty. San asked. If we are to face the future, the Emperor replied, we must first confront the lies that built our past. And across the stars, the consequences of one human decision began to ripple outward, toward allies, toward enemies, toward a galaxy that would never again see humanity as insignificant. Peace never announces itself quietly. 3 cycles after the Horizons will return to human space, the first test came, not from the Vyrex, but from those who feared what the Vyrex were becoming. The Krell Syndicate had watched everything. They were not an empire. They were survivors turned predators, a coalition of warlords and scavenger fleets that thrived in chaos. Where empires ruled with law, the Krell ruled with terror. And nothing terrified them more than unity. A human ship crossing imperial space without consequence was not bravery to them. It was weakness. The attack began without warning. A Virex listening outpost on the fringe of neutral space vanished in a bloom of silent fire. Hours later, a civilian trade convoy was torn apart. Survivors reported sleek black vessels bearing no markings, only a repeating signal sent on every frequency. Compassion has a cost. In the Imperial Citadel, alarms rang once more, but this time, the fear was different. "They are baiting us," Fleet Marshal Saan said. "They want us to respond with force." Emperor Kortal nodded slowly. "And if we do, we prove their belief correct." "Then what do we do?" Saan asked. Kortal did not answer immediately. Instead, he activated a secure channel, one he had never imagined using. The signal crossed space. Toward Earth. Commander Elena Ward received the transmission while standing in a shipyard overlooking the Horizon's Will, still scarred, still being repaired. She listened in silence as the Emperor explained the attacks, the threat, the warning message. When he finished, he asked, "If compassion is your strength, how do you fight those who see it as weakness?" Elena did not answer at once. Finally, she said, "By refusing to become what they expect." The Krell fleet advanced toward a populated border system. Virex and human civilians mixed together for the first time in history. Millions of lives hung in the balance. Krell warlords broadcast their ultimatum openly. "Hand over the human vessels," the voice snarled, distorted and cruel. "Or we cleanse the system." Human command argued. Virex generals demanded retaliation. Elena requested permission to lead the response. Not with a fleet. With one ship. The Horizon's Will. As the battered human battleship entered the threatened system, Krell ships emerged from hyperspace like hunting beasts. Weapons charged instantly. "Only one ship," the Krell commander mocked. "You truly are foolish." Elena stood on the bridge, calm as ever. "Open all channels," she ordered. Her voice echoed across the void. "This system contains civilians," she said. "You will stand down." Laughter followed. "You crossed an empire without firing a shot," the Krell replied. "That trick works once. Not twice." "Then you misunderstand us," Elena said quietly. "We did not come unarmed." At her signal, the Horizons were powered up, not weapons, but something else. Data. Every screen across Krell vessels lit up. Their systems staggered, not hacked, not overridden, but mirrored. Human tech adapted in real time, learning Krell logic faster than it could be changed. "What is happening?" the Krell commander roared. "You built your fleets on stolen designs," Elena said. "We learned from the people you hurt. We mapped your systems by listening to survivors." The Krell ships began to drift, engines locked, weapons frozen. Panic replaced arrogance. "You could destroy us now," the Krell commander hissed. "Do it." Elena's reply was steady. "No." The Krell fleet waited for annihilation. It never came. Instead, Virex ships arrived, not firing, but surrounding. Human rescue craft followed, evacuating civilians from damaged stations under fire. Across the system, something unprecedented happened. Enemies worked together. Hours later, the Krell fleet surrendered. Not because they were beaten, but because they were outmatched in purpose. In the aftermath, footage spread across the galaxy, humans shielding alien refugees, Virex ships escorting wounded Krell vessels instead of executing them. The old rules were breaking, and those who built their power on fear began to realize fear was losing its hold. Emperor Kortal watched the recordings in silence. "They spared them," Saan said. "Even after everything." "Yes," the Emperor replied. "And in doing so, they defeated them completely." He turned toward the star map, now marked with new symbols, shared stations, mixed patrols, joint research zones. "Prepare the announcement," Kortal said. "What announcement, Majesty?" Saan asked. The Emperor's voice carried across the chamber. "The Virex Dominion will no longer rule through isolation. We will stand with humanity." Saan inhaled sharply. "That will make enemies." "Yes," Kortal said. "But it will also make the future." Far away, aboard the Horizon's Will, Elena finally allowed herself to sit. Hannah looked at her. You knew they wouldn't fire. Elena nodded. Bullies only understand strength. We showed them a kind they couldn't steal. Hannah smiled faintly. What happens now? Elena looked out at the stars, no longer divided so cleanly between enemy and ally. Now, she said, the galaxy decides whether it wants to grow up. And somewhere beyond known space, forces older and darker than the Krell took notice. Humans were no longer insignificant. They were contagious. The galaxy did not explode into war. That was the first surprise. Empires had risen and fallen before, always in fire, always in blood. When alliances shifted, when power changed hands, destruction followed. That was the law of the stars. But this time, something else happened. Something human. The joint Virex-human declaration echoed across known space. We will not expand through conquest. We will not rule through fear. Any species seeking survival through cooperation will find sanctuary. The reaction was immediate. Some worlds celebrated. Some laughed. Some prepared weapons. And some, ancient, hidden powers, listened very carefully. Deep beyond mapped space, a civilization older than the Virex stirred. The Zalith Collective had watched younger species rise for millennia, only to destroy themselves. Empathy always failed. Cooperation always fractured. Humans, however, were different. That made them dangerous. A probe entered human space without warning. Unlike the Krell, it did not attack. It spoke. We request assessment. Demonstrate your value. On Earth, panic erupted. Militaries mobilized. Analysts screamed warnings. Elena Ward stood before the council once more. They're testing us, she said calmly. Not our weapons. Our identity. And if we fail? Someone asked. Elena met their gaze. Then we fail as ourselves. Not as monsters pretending to be strong. Permission was granted. The Zalith demanded proof. Not of firepower. Of choice. They selected a dying world, ravaged by its own wars, its atmosphere collapsing, its population scattered and desperate. Saving it would cost resources. Lives. Time. No reward, the Zalith warned. No alliance guaranteed. The galaxy waited. Human fleets moved first. Not battleships, but engineers, doctors, farmers, builders. Virex ships followed, carrying atmospheric stabilizers and orbital platforms once used only for domination. For years, the project continued. Humans adapted alien technology not to control, but to heal. They rebuilt ecosystems, shared knowledge, taught the broken world how to stand again without dependence. Some humans died. Some Virex died. No one turned back. The Zalith watched in silence. At the end, the restored world broadcast a single message across the stars, not scripted, not filtered. We were enemies, the survivors said. Now we are neighbors. We learned this from humans. That was the moment the galaxy tipped. The Zalith Collective finally spoke again. You are inefficient. You are emotionally compromised. You are illogical. Every human leader braced. You are also, the voice continued, the first species we have observed that does not collapse under the weight of caring. The Zalith withdrew. Not in fear. In respect. Years passed. Borders softened. Mixed cities formed. Children of different species learned each other's languages before they learned fear. Conflict did not vanish, but it changed. War became the last option. Not the first. On a quiet station overlooking a shared star system, Elena Ward stood beside Emperor Cortal. Both were older now. The horizons were rested in a museum dock, its hull scarred, its name legendary. We were wrong about you, Cortal said. Elena smiled. So were we. We thought we'd have to fight everyone. And instead, he asked. We helped, she said simply. Even when it hurt. Cortal looked at the stars. Empires are built on power. But civilizations are built on trust. Elena nodded. Far away, Dr. Jonah Hale lectured a hall filled with dozens of species. His voice was weak, but his eyes burned with life. "We asked the wrong question for too long," he said. "Not who is strongest, but who is worth saving." Humans answered that question even when it cost them everything. The hall rose in silence. Long after Elena was gone, long after the Virex Empire transformed into something new, the story endured. Not as legend, as warning, as promise. That somewhere in the vast, uncaring universe, there existed a species that would cross death itself for one fragile life. A species that refused to be small. A species that terrified empires, not with weapons, but with the simple, unstoppable decision to care. And the galaxy was never the same again.